Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session designed to give a new meaning to traumatic events of the past. And the client that I was working with was a severe agoraphobic. And what that really means is that they would have high levels of anxiety if they were out of their home and particularly in unfamiliar or wide open spaces. And a lot of this came from early experiences, feelings of being abandoned not once but twice at really significant points in their life. And yet, in their college years, they played in a band and were very successful to the extent that they were touring and even performing on cruise ships. And it was actually one of the cruise ships was the moment of another significant trauma. But while they were learning music and performing music, they felt like an absolute rock star. And what I tend to look for when I'm working with clients is highly resourceful states. And highly resourceful states doesn't mean a tiny bit of confidence or a little bit creative. It's feeling things like invincible and, oozing self-confidence. And this client certainly had that emotion when they were performing music. So what you're going to hear in this session is anchoring and harnessing that resource state, going back to memories, giving new interpretations of quite traumatic events that are empowering, and then actually experiencing those traumatic moments from a place of empowerment that then enabled them to give a new meaning. And that meaning wasn't that they were abandoned, and that the strategy that they had to keep them safe was then replaced with a more effective strategy to keep them safe, which is unleashing this inner rock star that for them, they knew existed because they had evidence when they were performing music. So in here, you've got, for the therapists listening, there's an element of regression, potential regression to cause. We don't know what the actual cause was, but moments of trauma can lead to coping strategies and belief changes, so it's certainly possible. Anchoring and reframes, and a few bits going on here. And, at the end of the session, the client said a couple of things which, I don't hear all the time, but when I hear them, makes me feel good as a therapist. And she'd been trying to look for therapists for many, many years. She had this for over 30 years, and said I was the first therapist to actually figure out what the key areas were that it related to. A lot of them didn't have a clue. They weren't fishing in the right spot and could actually feel an actual change taking place and feeling confident with future situations. And that's why I do this. It's to actually help create empowering change. And I feel like hypnosis and various other techniques that I use can be very useful to do that much quicker than perhaps traditional psychotherapeutic techniques. If you have a desire to be more confident, to reframe traumatic moments of the past, this session could be for you. It was created for someone else, though, therefore not all of the suggestions are even going to make sense. So if you do want something a bit more bespoke and customized, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule that completely free consultation call to explore working with me. And some people haven't been able to find it in the show notes. It's normally about halfway down. But if you can't, then check out my website, adamcox.co.uk. And on there, you should be able to find a a link to a consultation call completely free on Zoom to explore working with me. So for now, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, feel that tension is leaving your body in that outward breath. And then breathe in even deeper, breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation. And exhaling, getting a sense that any stress and worries are slowly leaving your body in that outward breath. The deeper you breathe in, the more resourceful and relaxed you feel. And the longer you hold that exhale, the more it feels that unresourceful emotions are leaving your body in that outward breath. That's it. I want you to use the power of your imagination just to imagine a place in nature, maybe a beach, placed by a lake, on a sunny day under blue skies. And just imagine how you would feel if the most comfortable chair that ever existed was in that place in nature. And use the power of your imagination to imagine sitting or lying, if it's a reclining chair, in that comfortable seat in nature. Notice, with every breath you breathe in, you feel more and more relaxed, almost like you're breathing in a sedative, a mild form of anesthesia. That when you breathe in, you're feeling drowsy, sleepy, more relaxed. And continue as you exhale to just feel that you're releasing. And maybe you're releasing tension and stress and worries. But I also want you to think you're releasing an idea that was never true. Some people believe they are sick or ill for years, until finally they figure out the diagnosis was not the condition. And maybe you're breathing out the idea that you're ill, and breathing in an idea that your brain and mind learned something that was good in one context, but not useful in another. And you already know that there is contextual learning that is fantastic in one circumstance and useless in another. Playing bass guitar is a useful skill in a performance, in a band, on a stage, but doesn't help to make a lunch, and doesn't help to write a letter. So just acknowledge the idea that sometimes useful things can be useful in a particular context, and really unuseful in a different context. And the harder you try to imagine writing a letter with a bass guitar, the more ludicrous it seems. But it also means that if there was an area of your life where you were trying to use contextual learning in the wrong context, that would be equally ludicrous. And if your unconscious agrees, let me know by nodding your head. So start to feel that you're drifting off deeper and deeper relaxed in that chair, in that place in nature. As I count down from 5 to 1, just imagine that you're drifting off, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. 5, eyelids feeling heavier and heavier, loosening the muscles in the jaw. As you breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, just allow any tension in the neck and the shoulders to feel like they're melting away. And feel that tension leave your body in your outward breath. And then 3, just allow your arms and legs to feel so limp, loose and heavy, so relaxed there in that chair. And then 2, imagine all of your internal organs, your heart, your lungs, your stomach, even your diaphragm, letting go of any tension. That's it. Feeling that tension leave your body in that outward breath. And 1, breathe in, the deepest of all the breaths so far. Resourceful relaxation, and feel it going down into your gut. Releasing any anxiety in your gut and feel that anxiety leave your body. That's it, eyelids feeling so heavy now. And now just imagine in this relaxed state, keeping your physical body where it is and allowing your imagination to float upwards. And because it's your imagination, it's not bound by the rules of 3 dimensions, where time is linear. In your imagination, you can go backwards and forwards in time. So just imagine swimming backwards in time to a memory of you at your most confident, a time when you were invincible, a time that you could take on anything, and just swim all the way back to that memory, observing you at that point in time. That's it. And observe. Observe what you look like at that age, and pick up on the mannerisms, the facial expressions, the breathing, the posture, and play that game we all played as kids, a game of mimicry. Start to feel like you're naturally adjusting your posture, your breathing, your facial expressions to be just like that confident, invincible version of you. When the time is right, step into that version of you with oozing levels of confidence, infinite resourcefulness. And when you're inside, feeling like you're reliving and reactivating that version of you, let me know by nodding your head. Remember your inner dialogue at that time, not harsh, but not weak and kind, just with a sense of certainty that you can do what you need to do. Feel that resourceful feeling somewhere in your body, maybe your chest, your head, or your heart. And just point to that location of where you feel such high levels of confidence and resourcefulness. And then expand it. Feel like it's expanding, glowing, resonating. So it's even more intense than it was before. Give a colour, a shape, a sound, a tonality to that feeling. And feel a vibration of that resource that resonates with every cell in your body. And if you feel confident, even invincible, let me know by nodding your head. And now float up out of that confident body, keeping all of those wonderful feelings with you as you swim all the way back in time to a moment in childhood where you were given some unexpected news. Feel that resourceful confidence because you are the observer. You're not hearing the words firsthand, you're observing a younger version of you hearing that news. I want you to see from your facial expression that false evaluations were being created in that moment, where 1 + 1 = 3. And knowing what you now know, that wasn't the most useful evaluation to make. You can have empathy for that younger version of you. But I want you to see things for how they really are. You were never abandoned. You just had that genetic lottery of having a father that ran away from responsibilities rather than stepping up to them. That's on him, and almost nothing to do with you. I want you to imagine seeing that younger version of you, perhaps a day or two later, a time when they're on their own, maybe in their bedroom, and visit them as this resourceful, confident version of you. Give them a hug and tell them what things really mean. Tell them how capable they are. That their safety and security doesn't come from other people or places, it comes from within. Tell them they are a rock star of resourcefulness that can handle anything. Keep telling them that until they believe in. And when that younger version of you truly does believe in, let me know by nodding your head. And then hold their hand and go backwards in time, maybe 2 or 3 days, and re-experience what happened. You're the observer, see that younger version of you, but now with a different meaning and a different feeling, and see how that younger version of you handled the same situation. All the key moments of around that time, handling it like an absolute rock star. Maybe that 10-year-old version of you gives their father the reality check that their father needed. Maybe you can see that 10-year-old version of you telling their father, it doesn't matter how far away they run from their responsibilities, they will always take themselves with them. Give him that reality check other people were too afraid to give him. Fearlessly, confidently. And maybe when he attempts to give a hug, you don't even need it. Because you love yourself more than an irresponsible father could ever pretend to love you. And if you see it the way you like it to have been, let me know by nodding your head. And then go forward perhaps 4 years in the future. And I want you to see a time where maybe he returns just for a couple of weeks. But you've had 4 years of being that rockstar child. You didn't need him anyway. See that version of you with levels of confidence maybe you never had at the time, but now observe yourself with that. I want you to see that so many of those gestures were vain attempts at reputation management, not for you, but to try and take away feelings of guilt with him. See things exactly as they truly were, but see your response not falling for the tricks and traps. See that younger version of you that has this bring it on mentality. Oh, you're here, so what? Or maybe something else. Doesn't need to be ambivalence. Maybe it can be a connection, but on your terms, not his. And when he goes, see the reaction of that evolved version of you. See you later. And off he goes. No trauma. It's as significant as watching a TV show on the TV or reading some news in a paper. It's there and then it's gone. I want you to see that younger version of you oozing with confidence. But what keeps you safe is the internal resource, feeling strong from within, knowing that you can handle anything life throws your way. And then go forwards. Go forwards to a time on a cruise ship. And I want you to see a version of you as you were, nothing different, but just observe. Play it as it was, but this time knowing everything that you now know, that you can evaluate it accurately. This wasn't a relationship of love that you lost. It was something you did for one reason that was never going to do that thing anyway. When people show you who they are, believe them. Just observe it exactly as it was. I want you to see a moment of extreme anxiety and coming to the conclusion that that anxiety was based on true but unuseful evaluations. Or maybe untrue and unuseful evaluations. I want you to visit that 23-year-old version of you on just one of those times alone in a cabin. But you visit oozing with that confidence. And now it's time that she gets the reality check. She needs to be reminded who she really is. Remind her. Remind her of those days in college. Remind her of that 10-year-old, 14-year-old version of her. This isn't a time for sadness and wallowing and worry and uncertainty. If anything, it's given you more certainty. When someone shows you who they are, you can believe them, and you make your plans accordingly. Why wait for someone to decide what they're going to do? You're a rock star. You decide what you're going to do. And notice the way you're communicating to that 23-year-old version of you isn't harsh, but equally it's not weak and kind. Isn't it the kind of voice that says, you can do this? Of course you can. That empowered tone will become more and more frequent in your future. That's what you respond to best. Tough love, but full of love. And when you see that change in that 23-year-old version of you, let me know by nodding your head. Give her a hug or a high five or something. Hold her hand, go back in time. Perhaps all the way back to a proposal. See that version of her handle it different. Or maybe go forwards in time to the first few days and weeks on that cruise ship. And notice that this is a rock star on a cruise ship. There's no hiding away in a cabin. Maybe you see yourself not waiting for a cruise journey to end. See yourself leading decisions. See that version of you taking control in the most confident, resourceful, invincible way possible. And notice that also keeps you safe. That level of self-belief, that level of confidence, as it dawns on you, you were never sick or ill. You just come to the wrong conclusions and acted as if those conclusions were true. And a wise woman once said, once you know better, you do better. So allow all of these changes to ripple back through the past, present, and future. And now it's time to go forwards in time as you see yourself from the present moment over the next few days, noticing those changes that took place in the past have rippled into the present and now your future. See that version of you, perhaps with postures and mannerisms, a swagger and attitude that you haven't seen for a while, but now you do. And treating any setbacks, intrusive thoughts as just leaves on a stream. Meaningless and will pass shortly. Because you know who you are and feel that you've been playing a character you have not been meant to play for too long. And it's time for the world to see who you really are. So observe that version of you literally in the next few days, being that version of you. The way you talk, the way you move, the way you dress. Any setbacks are not because it's not possible, they're just echoes of neurology from your past that will become less and less frequent. as more and more of the confident version of you becomes your present and future. And then step into that future and feel like you're doing something that you could only do if this empowered version of you was fully activated. And just imagine doing it. No overthinking, just doing it. And you can't help but think, if I can do this, what else can I do? Or perhaps even more powerfully, that there is nothing that you can't do. It's now time to go back to that chair in nature and feel like you've gone on a journey. The past, the present, the future. A journey in your imagination of ideas within ideas, thoughts within thoughts, dreams within dreams. And it's now time to come back to the here and now. But take that wonderful, empowered sensation in that location, that glowing, vibrating, resonant sensation, a sensation of feeling of I've got this, all the way back to the present as I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. That is the version of you that awakens. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.